What's up, guys? It's Kid Comics, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about the top 10 best comic books ever found in my dad's old comic book collection. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going through a list from 10 all the way down to 1. 10 being, not the craziest find, but number 1 obviously being the best find ever found in my dad's old comic book collection. Without further ado, let's begin the video. Starting off with our number 10 spot, we have none other than Uncanny X-Men 129. Now, this is an awesome Bronze Age key, and if you don't know, this is the first appearance of Emma Frost. So, when I was looking through my dad's comic book collection, I managed to find this, and it's also in pretty nice condition. When I first looked at this book, I saw maybe there was some, color-breaking spine dinks. Some of them were a little bit bigger than others. But besides that, there's no other wear to this book. Maybe like a little bit of a corner, but it's really, really tiny wear that you can't even see on camera. So yeah, Uncanny X-Men 129, first appearance of Emma Frost, awesome Bronze Age key to kick off our tier list, or our list of the top 10 books found in my dad's comic book collection. Kicking it off in our number 9 spot, we have 3 books that are really, really awesome Todd McFarlane art. Actually, it's his first ever art in Spider-Man. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is Amazing Spider-Man 298, 299, and 301. Sorry. He didn't get 300, but I still got the other ones. So when I do get a 300, at least I have the whole set. So, I think the most surprising part about these is that they're all newsstands. And if you don't know, a newsstand is a more rare version of a direct edition. You can tell the difference with this little tiny, sort of like, box down there. And yeah, this is usually where the artists wouldn't touch, like that area or draw on that. And this is where they'd put usually barcodes for back then when you would buy a comic book at like a grocery store. So they just scan the barcode. But yeah, all of these books are in really solid condition. 298 is in like really nice condition. I would honestly average this at a 9.6, 9.8 grade. So, I mean, this one is really, really solid. Then we got 299. I mean, looking at this, it's got, like maybe 1, 2 color breaking spine dinks on the book. But overall, I'd get this like a 9.4. So this one's also extremely solid. And 301 is even better. The only damage I see on 301 is this little tiny color breaking spine dink. I don't even think the camera can render that. But yeah, all 3 newsies on ASM 298, 299, and 301. The first Todd McFarlane work on Spider-Man. Honestly, this is a really, really solid set of books. Next on the list, number 8, we have Tales of Suspense number 59. Now, I really like this cover. I mean, I think it's pretty awesome. You get to see Captain America jumping out of the wall, and you see Iron Man in a pretty sick pose. But if you don't know, this is not as big of a key, but this is the first appearance of Jarvis. Now, usually most grading companies don't say it is, but you can see it on one of the panels where it's some sort of like butler talking to Tony Stark. But yeah, Tales of Suspense 59. I range this book at around a 6.5, 6.0, maybe even like a 5.5. But I mean, for a nice Silver Age key, this isn't too bad, especially when it came from my dad's comic book collection. But yeah, I think this is a really solid book, pretty awesome, and yeah, move on to number 7. From now on this list, we're going to be seeing some awesome keys. To start off with our number 7, we've got none other than Amazing Spider-Man 252. If you don't know, Amazing Spider-Man number 252 is the first appearance of the black suit. And if you don't know, this one's also a newsstand edition, which is a much more rare version than the direct edition. But, yeah, this one's really solid. It's in really nice condition. I mean, it's got maybe like 3 4 color breaking spine dinks on it, and that's it. So I would range this book at around a 9.2 to 9.4 range. It's really clean, very bright colors, and if you don't know, this actually was an homage to the first ever appearance of Spider-Man, which was Amazing Fantasy 15. And honestly, this might be a hot take, but I think this cover is miles ahead of the original AF-15 cover. I mean, don't get me wrong, the art's pretty good in AF-15, but it just seems so much more gritty. Like, it's like super gray. There's no like bright colors on like 252's cover. Because you see, this book came out in the 80s, and what they tried to do was they tried to reflect off the 80s kids and how they dressed and styled, and this just showed like the new Spider-Man coming out with the black suit, and this just feels so iconic to me, and I really love this awesome cover. Also, forgot to mention, if you haven't even seen my profile picture yet, you'll know ASM 252, automatically one of my most favorite covers. That's why I put it as my profile picture. So yeah, ASM 252 is the best. Now, to top off all of my Spider-Man books, or all of my dad's Spider-Man books, we have Amazing Spider-Man 194. This is the first appearance of the Black Cat. This is a UPC edition, which for this book, around the time they were just testing this out, and pretty much the UPC is just the direct edition. It just kind of has the slash over the barcode, so like a reader can't read it. But yeah, 194, it's a really solid grade. I mean, it's around like a 7.0, 7.5 copy. It's really solid, and the reason I had this higher than all the other ones is because you don't usually come across a 194 as often as a Secret Wars 8 or even an ASM 252. In our number 4 spot, we have the entire set of Batman: The Dark Knight Returns, done by Frank Miller, with Klaus Janson and Lynn Varley. So, if you haven't heard of the Dark Knight Returns series at all, then you must be living under a rock. So, let me inform you about that. The Dark Knight series was a very popular run back in the 90s. And although it only consisted of 4 books, these books were really awesome reads. And it was just one big storyline about mutants taking over Gotham and eventually Batman fighting Superman. And, you know, this was really awesome to read. I don't want to be too inclusive on the details of this book because I want you guys to actually read it. But, you know, I would recommend just buying the omnibus of this because, you know, there's stuff like reader creases on these books because it didn't have like the usual staples on the spine. And if you don't know, a reader's crease was basically a giant crease. When you would open the book, it would just make a giant crease along the spine. So yeah, I mean, these are really awesome reads. I actually really enjoyed reading this. And yeah, I recommend you go buy a copy of The Dark Knight Returns Omnibus. Or you could just buy the whole set as low-grade reader copies. So, yeah, pretty awesome books. Well, we finally made it to our top 3 best comic books ever found in my dad's old comic book collection. And, funnily enough, the last 3 are all books from different eras, with our top 3 spot being a Silver Age book. Now, this is quite an old X-Men book, which, you know, you don't see every day in a 70s through 80s kids comic book collector, since this was way before my dad's time. But, if you don't know what the book I'm talking about, this is X-Men 14. Now, X-Men 14 is the first ever appearance of the Sentinels. Sentinels, they're a pretty popular villain from the X-Men. There's just these giant robot guys, you know, there always seems to be a threat of them, and yeah. Sentinel's pretty cool. Let me take this out, show you guys. So yeah, I mean, this book obviously has some pretty big wear. But I mean, come on. Finding this in 80s, like, kid comic collector, you know what I mean? From a kid back in, like, the 80s, you wouldn't usually see this in a kid's comic book collection. And, you know, it's obviously quite rough. But Still, X-Men 14, you don't find this every single day in a kid's comic book collection, let alone an 80s kid's comic collection. So yeah, I mean, this book is actually starting to flake out. I want to be careful when I'm putting this away, because I don't want anything to break out of this, because this book has already seen quite enough. But yeah, I mean, this is a really cool, awesome Silver Age book to show you guys. If this will go in. There we go. Yeah, sorry, it's just taken quite a while to get this book back in here. Because, I mean, there's a ton of spine damage here, like you see. There's the, all this. And that's what really sucks with these types of books, is that, like, you know what I mean? They have all of this spine wear, and when you try and put all these, like really worn down books into, like, a case like this, or any type of just book, or, like, sorry, comic casing or comic bag, it kind of starts flaking, and it starts getting even more damaged, which I didn't want to do. So, yeah, X-Men 14... awesome top 3 spot. Now, for our number 2 spot, I actually don't have the book anymore. So pretty much what happened was my dad ended up selling that book off quite a while ago, but it was actually our only Golden Age book that he ever owned. And it was a pretty cool one. That Golden Age book is Batman 13. So, Batman 13, nothing of key significance of this book, but it is pretty rare. Like I said with the X-Men 14, you don't come across a book like that, especially in, you know, a 70 or like 80s kids collection. So, I mean, this is a pretty rare find, and not every day you find such an old book and such an iconic cover like Batman 13. Well, there are a few honorable mentions I want to go over before we actually get to number 1. I just want to be a little bit quick about this, you know what I mean, because I don't want to make this video too long for you guys. So, those books are Thor 337, Uncanny X-Men 120 and 121, and Uncanny X-Men 109, which you can pretty much see all of these books on the wall right here. But yeah, Thor 337, first appearance of Beta Ray Bill, and it's a newsstand. X-Men 109, that's the first appearance of Weapon Alpha. X-Men 120 and 121, first cameo and first full appearance of Alpha Flight. So yeah, pretty awesome honorable mentions. So, let's get to number 1. Finally, our number 1 spot is a book that I've talked to you guys about for quite a bit. Actually, I talked to you guys about this book all the way back in my first video, which is Why You Should Be a Comic Book Collector. And, you know, I touched up a little bit on this book, how, you know, it was quite valuable, you know, it was an important character, and it was the first comic book that actually got me into the entire hobby of comic book collecting. Now, that book is none other than my dad's Werewolf by Night 32. Now, Werewolf by Night number 32, if you don't know, is the first ever appearance of Moon Knight in a comic book. Or ever. So yeah, first time he appeared anywhere, and he wasn't your average, you know, vigilante. He was, you know, a little bit different. He looked a little different. I can't take the backing board out, so I'm just gonna have to kind of hold it floppy like this. But yeah, pretty awesome. 25-cent cover. I mean, condition-wise, it's a pretty solid mid-grade book. I mean, you can definitely see there is some wear on the sides, like all those color-breaking spine ticks down the spine. There is a little bit of a, I don't know there's like a little bit of a crease. It's not really color-breaking, but, you know, some other creasing, and, you know, overall this book is quite solid. You know, back, here you go, here's the back of the book. So yeah, I mean, Werewolf by Night number 32, really solid copy. I'd say it's around a 6.0, 6.5 grade. You know, it's pretty solid. It's got some, you know, usual wear on the book, but overall, it's not too bad a condition. You know, you get to see. I actually really like the the pinup of this. The pinup's actually kind of cool. Yeah, I'll just show a photo instead. But yeah, it says the stalker called Moon Knight. I think this is a pretty awesome pinup. But yeah, Werewolf by Night number 32, first appearance of Moon Knight. That is by far the best comic book I've ever found in my dad's old comic book collection. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. The reason I wanted to make this was because, you know, I really like showing all of these awesome books to you guys, and, you know, I've always talked about my dad's comic book collection, but I never actually showed you guys, like, some of the best books he's ever actually had in his comic book collection, which I think is pretty crazy. So, I just wanted to make this video to show you how awesome my dad comic book collection really is. But, yeah, so if you want to see more like this, make sure to smash that subscribe button. And if you like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you guys in the next video.